Welcome, welcome, Linda. I am so excited to have you on Zen Money Monday today.
Well, I am really excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
So for those people who don't know you, I know that you do a lot of interesting, great work, but I'm curious, one, what you're doing right now and how you, because I know it's always evolving, and two, how you got into it, more importantly. Because these days you really help people with performance and kind of anxiety and a lot of things like that, correct?
Yes, I help people with their inner experience because a lot of courses and workshops are focused on how you come across, and I think that is important, but I'm particularly interested in how you feel inside as you're doing it, because I feel that what you have going on inside impacts how you come across and what you're capable of doing. So I want people to get to a place where they're not being held back by fear, not because they're pushing through it, but because there isn't anything to push through.
So at this point, you're just, again, to further introduce you, because I didn't do a great job of that, but you help people with speaking and performance and
Yes, I
getting
do.
that up on stages, and I'm assuming in front of meetings and things like that.
That's right. So I help people overcome their fear of being seen and heard, whether that's on stage, on camera, in a meeting room, or in the media, networking, any place where you show up. It could be even just if you're working in corporate and you have difficulty knowing how to walk in the morning and interact with people so you feel comfortable in your skin.
How did you get into this work? What did you do before this version of Linda?
Well, one thing I've done for 40 years, which is definitely related, is I've been a performer. So I'm part of a women's world music group called Labana, and we research and perform music from around the world, and I'm the principal dancer. So that is something that has put me on the stage and given me plenty of opportunity to figure out what I need to do to feel really present and empowered in front of people. And I didn't start out that way. It was something that I discovered in pieces along the way. And concurrently with that, I've always been very compelled by the experience of movement and dance, and not so much, I mean, I love performing dance and watching performance, but I'm more interested in using movement as a means of getting to understand and experience yourself and getting in tune with where you are in the present moment. And I, as a teen, I'd come home from school, throw my bags on the ground, and I just like push and pull and contort my body, getting all my teen angst out of me. And after like 5 minutes of like, I felt ready to sit down and do my homework. And I called it my therapy.
Were you a dancer at that point? When did you get into dance?
Yeah, I was, but I was taking ballet and jazz and modern dance, that kind of thing. But at some point, you know, I might have taken an improv class, a dance improv class, and maybe, or a choreography class where we were encouraged to express ourselves, which was different than following someone's made up choreography.
Especially something like ballet that is so structured.
So structured, and even jazz, we were asked, I mean, whenever you go into a dance class, you're being asked to try on someone else's movements. Mm-hmm. When I was 19, I took a summer program in dance therapy, and that kind of like turned me around 180 degrees with dance, because suddenly I realized that you could explore moving in particular ways, like, let's say, the teacher would say, okay, you're going to be in partners and you're going to explore like pulling away from each other or pushing against each other. And then we talk about, well, what was that like? And that was wonderful because, first of all, I never had a chance to express verbally how I felt. And this kind of brought it together, gave you a shared experience, which you could then discuss.
That's fascinating. So, okay, so dance is part of your life for a good long time. Was that part of your initial work, say after college, or like what was the trajectory here?
It was. That's all I wanted to do was something about dance. And I think I know I had a dance company. I think it was for like a season. I choreographed a piece. I got some live musicians. It was great fun. It was extremely expensive. And I decided, unless I wanted to get into grant writing, I couldn't keep that up. So I gave that up, and I continued to teach various different forms of improvisational movement. I worked with musicians and helping them understand and feel music so that they could be better musicians. I discovered this practice called authentic movement, which was moving with your eyes closed and simply listening to, well, what does the body feel like doing, much to how I did when I was a kid, when I was a teen. And that was being witnessed as well. So you were not only listening to your own impulse to move, but you're also experiencing the eyes of a witness, which were practicing or offering a space of compassion and safety. But still, if you're not used to being seen, it really brings up that feeling of, oh my gosh, I feel like hiding, which was fine because in that space I could grab a towel or a blanket or a shawl and I could throw it over my head and hide. I could have, that was my impulse, and I could like do all my stuff underneath the blanket, and then when I got hot, I might throw it off and feel like, okay, here I am, you can see me. And it was very therapeutic.
That's amazing. Okay. Yeah. I want to keep this thread going in terms of how you got from there to what you're doing now. Was it a really sort of gradual evolution, or have you just?
No, I would say it was a very sudden one. So this was what I was doing early on, and it's my foundation. And I actually gave up teaching dance because my father told me I'd never succeed in making money. And when I was doing it for 18 years, and when he died, I thought, who am I trying to prove this to? I'm not making money doing this. I'm like,
but you weren't not making money, right?
I was making money, but I couldn't get past a certain point. I felt like I had this ceiling. I wasn't feeling like I was making enough to really cover everything. And I was struggling a lot. Yeah. So I gave that up. And I had a detour into organic farming. And I started a farm business, and that was great fun and very, very confidence building because I felt, okay, finally I could like build a business. But at some point I thought, no, I was meant to make an impact that was bigger than just growing for local restaurants. And I came into the online space. That was, I think, 2014.
Okay.
And in 2015, a phone app came out. Oh, and that was like, well, what am I doing? I tried doing movement stuff, but it was hard with the technology and music and blah, blah, blah. It was difficult. Mm-hmm. So I put myself out as a mindset coach because I realized that over the years, I had gathered a lot of tools and perspectives that could be helpful to people. So I was exploring that, and in 2015, Periscope, came out, which was a phone app that allowed you to broadcast live like a TV show. It was what we know now as Facebook Live and Instagram Live, but it was really new, and it was really scary. But I was committed to doing it every single day because I wanted to build a following, and I knew that if I did it every day, I would. So Go on.
Sorry, I have a quick question here. Do you consider yourself an early adapter? Or do you think it was totally random that this particular avenue crossed your path?
I would say I was like the second tier.
Yeah.
So I wasn't the first one, I was the second. But for me, that was early because I always felt late to the game.
Right.
So for me, it was like a big deal. Yes. It was really scary, but I was committed to doing it every single day. And I Googled how to deal with my nerves. I told myself it's not about me, it's about my audience. That fear was fuel to get energized, and just ignore the fear and do it anyway, and do it scared, and all these heroic messages. And I also tried all these different kinds of techniques of affirmations and meditation and jumping jacks and dancing. And every day I tried something new, and every day I got through it. But every day that fear was waiting for me, needing to be dealt with again and again. And when I got to day 75, it just dawned on me, this is ridiculous. Practice is not the panacea for fear that I had hoped it would be.
That if you just kept pushing yourself through it, it would eventually become something that felt different.
Exactly. And I didn't feel somewhat more confident. I did not. So
were you getting traction? Here's my other question. 75 days in, was Periscope doing anything for you from a business standpoint?
It wasn't making me any money, but I was building a following. It wasn't making me money for other reasons because I wasn't asking, or I wasn't offering things, you know, so that's another business. Sure. But I was building a following. It's true. But that day I got fed up with feeling afraid. And I said, I've got to do something about that. I just got to figure this out. And I took stock. You know, I have a master's degree in expressive therapies and movement studies. I have an undergraduate degree in psychology. I've done a lot of therapy, read probably every self-help book that was written in the 1900s. And it's true, now there are too many, but at that time there weren't all that many.
Right.
And I made a list that I was going to just kill this thing. And I remember thinking, before I get rid of this, because I know I can, I've got all these tools here. What even is this fear? So I closed my eyes to connect with the fear and asked, what are you trying to say? And what came back was, I'm going to be attacked. And I thought, is that like saber-toothed tiger attacked? Or the psychologist in me said, no, Linda, where have you been attacked? And I thought, yeah, I've been attacked. As a kid, I was the good one in the family. And my mom would compare me to my sisters. She'd say, why can't you girls be more like Linda? Oh. And I remember thinking, oh God, I know what's going to happen next. As soon as she's out of sight, they charge, kick me in the shins and say, shut up, stupid. And then it hit me. I didn't feel safe in front of the camera or an audience because there was part of me that remembers it was dangerous to be put in the center of attention in that way. And not only that, but I didn't just risk being attacked. I risked losing their love because I really wanted my sisters to love me. And if they were jealous of me, they would hate me.
Of course, very basic family dynamic stuff, but super powerful.
Super powerful, yeah. So that's when I realized I knew what the genesis of this was. And you know what? It still felt true. I still felt like when I checked in with myself, I said, okay, Linda, if you became seen, if you became well-known, successful, do you feel like you lose their love? And I thought, oh my God, I still feel that way. I had no idea.
It's amazing how much we carry around on all of that. Plus you have layered on top of that, this messaging from your parents, at least from your dad, saying you're never going to be successful doing any of this. And anything involving dance or movement is not appropriate, aka performance. Yeah. Fascinating how much stuff we carry with us.
Yeah, we don't realize that it still affects us for a long time because it's not just in our heads. I mean, I've been good friends with my sisters for decades. It's not.
But it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's imprinted in our bodies, in our belief system.
For sure. What do you see? So today, fast forward to right now, you're working with individuals, groups. I know you do sort of training from the stage. Run us through what a sort of normal working with you looks like now.
It's a variety of ways that people can work with me. I do take one-on-one clients, and I also have group programs that I've done group programs online. I do workshops in person, and I am currently working on creating a 3-day retreat that would be the same process that I take an individual through over 6 weeks. It would be done in a weekend.
What do you find? Do you find there's much of a difference between in-person work versus the online work? This is something I know a lot of people struggle with in the online space. I'm curious from your perspective, from a physicality standpoint, what do you find?
You know, there is something really special about being in the same room with somebody. But I have to say I've had as much success working with people online as in person. If anything, we're more focused when we're online. When we're in person, it tends to stretch out a little bit. It feels more, maybe there's more relationship building that happens when we're in person in a different way. Just like when we meet colleagues online or have interactions online, it goes to a certain degree, and then we meet them in person. Like you and I got to sit next to each
That's
other
true.
a couple of times now, and that has a different quality about it. But no, I think that in terms of doing the work, it works. It happens. Yeah.
What do you think because I know that you work with people in our audience, people who are business owners or entrepreneurs, or just looking to kind of make a different impact in the world, whether that's being on a stage or just being able to teach more effectively, whatever it might be. What do you think the biggest issue is? We've talked about fear, but I'm sure you've seen some commonalities across the board.
A lot of it is fear of being judged, making mistakes. I mean, if you're a high achiever, chances are you did well in school. And if you did well in school, that means you were rewarded for knowing all the right answers and never making mistakes.
Right.
And also reflecting what someone else wants, like coming, fulfilling someone else's program. And when you are an entrepreneur, you are needing to take a stand on what you believe. And that in itself can be hard to figure out because you're so conditioned to figure out what values a teacher has rather than what are my values? What do I believe in? That's not something we got encouraged to really explore, at least I didn't when I was in school, or to express. I mean, we had to be with the program. We got graded on attendance and participation and
even in creative endeavors like dance or the arts or whatever it might be. That's very true. I see a lot of people get hung up around that kind of on the back end from their business choices, their business models, feeling the need to continually have somebody else as a quote unquote mentor or, flip-flopping between new ideas of what they see out there externally versus having an internal, solidified trust in themselves and their own mission and vision of how to do it.
Yes. So at first, when I got into the work, I thought it was mostly about like negative, quote unquote, negative experiences, being hurt, being shamed, being blamed, ridiculed, bullied, all these kinds of things, not seen, not protected. But then I began to get more of the high achieving clients. And then we discovered this whole other side of it, that it sometimes can be a curse to be at the top of your class later on. And, when you look at some of the let's say the boys who said, I'm not going to write my name at the top right just because the teacher told me. They're the ones who are great innovators and great entrepreneurs because they don't give a hoot about what other people think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, they might not have gotten good grades because of that, but they did very well in life because they believed in themselves.
So when somebody who is an outside of the box thinker, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs are at some level at least, comes to work with you, what are their biggest challenges if it's not sort of traditional?
Everybody has their own stories. And what is creative about the work that we do together is discovering what feels like might have impacted you. So we'll go through the family, we'll go through school, we'll go through friendships, and maybe people have found that their early life was actually very solid and they were really incredibly lucky. And then maybe something happened later on that kind of knocked their confidence out of them. Whatever it is, we need to look at what is the imprint that gets carried, the trigger that gets carried along. So I wasn't on stage thinking, oh, because my sisters, kicked me in the shins or, hit me or whatever, I'm afraid. No, I wasn't thinking that at all. All I was aware of was my heart was racing. That was the imprint in my body saying, danger, remember, this is dangerous, you know? And so we have what we feel is this ambivalence of, oh, I really want to do this. I really want to put myself out there. But there's part of us inside that's going, whoa, wait a minute. Not so fast. Remember, this may not be safe.
Right.
So it's always some aspect of that. The details are individual.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you feel for yourself in having carved out this sort of new niche for yourself where you're integrating all of your education and your interest/disinterest in performance and, working through all that for yourself? Do you feel like what's your perspective on business building at this point in the game, having kind of put it down after 18 years and then picked up a different version of it sort of more recently over the last 5?
What's my perspective on business building?
Yeah. What is your feeling around success at this point? Has that version for yourself changed? Has that given you more confidence? Where has this work led you?
Well, I feel like this work has led me to living a more empowered life across the board. It has, because what we are doing, we're not just clearing the impacting past experiences and our beliefs that may be getting in the way of me moving forward and having the impact that I want, but it's also giving me a chance to really consciously reinvent my self-dialogue so that I have become my biggest supporter and advocate. So as I go into any kind of new venture, I have the tools and the capacity and the openness and freedom to accept where I am, in any part of the process, to celebrate every baby step along the way, which allows business building to be much more fun. And I feel like I'm a success every day.
And who can ask for more than that?
Because I focus on the success that I've had every day. Before I have a practice, before I go to sleep, I think of 5 things I'm proud of for the day, which is showing me evidence of my success. That could be sending out an email. It could be doing a podcast. It could be spending an hour editing my book. 5 things that I forgive myself for. So that's the clearing process, letting go. Because what I learned in this work of overcoming the fear, it's about letting go of all those triggers that we've been holding on to without our knowing. So once you let go of that, there are new things that happen day by day. We don't want to continue to accumulate clutter. We want to stay clear. So I do 5 things I'm proud of, 5 things I need to let go of, forgive myself for. And then I do 5 gratitudes, because I think that gratitude is one of the easiest ways to shift into a higher state of being. And that's how I want to live my life, both as a human being and as a business person.
That's awesome. So I ask everybody this question. We've only touched on money a little bit, and that's totally cool, because I think your business is really interesting, and I really love your story of how you got to where you are today. But from your perspective, because I think balance is important for you, I'm curious what Zen Money means to you.
I would akin it to the work that I do, that it's a sense of equilibrium and balance. It's not a static place, but it's more like a dance or an interaction where we find our sense of relationship that is unclouded by our past.
I like that. That's a great definition. I'm going to steal that. Every time I ask that to people, I'm like, I want that definition.
You have the recording. You can write it
on. Everyone can take that one away. Now, you do have a book coming out.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, it's called Delight in the Limelight. Overcome your fear of being seen and realize your dreams. I am super excited. I feel like it's not only taking what I've discovered and am helping people with, but it's helping me the process is helping me deconstruct what I've done for myself and how I help other people, so that others can find their path into living a life where they show up to everything that they do with presence.
Whether that's on a stage or not, right?
Whether it's on a stage or not. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What would you say? I know that we have something to share with our audience, but one more quick question before we do that. Based on the work that you've done and the variety of people you've worked with, what would be one takeaway or thought you'd like to leave our listeners with today?
I'd like to give a tip.
Perfect.
I would like to suggest that anytime you are about to enter into some kind of a task or an interaction, whether it's a performance or it's a meeting, that you take a few minutes to think about how you want to feel as you're doing it. It's using your ability as an imagining human being, to pave the way and pave your neurophysiology into having an experience that you want and that you like. So if you want to feel at ease, imagine yourself being there at ease with a smile. Maybe if it's a close relationship, you might imagine a hug afterwards, or a handshake, or a smile. And imagine how you want to feel when you leave as well. And I think that this will serve you.
I love that, because I think a lot of times, particularly from a performance standpoint, there's a lot of talk around, imagine how you want to be perceived, which is a very different focus and a very different outcome a lot of times, because you can do that, but then it doesn't necessarily feel good inside, because you don't feel like you really nailed it, because inside there may be a disconnect between how you're feeling versus how you presented yourself.
That's right. There are plenty of performers who nail it, and then they go home or they leave and they go, oh, that was awful. I don't want that to happen to you.
Yeah,
I want you to think, yes.
Let's feel great after every performance, whatever that looks like. I love that. So Linda, you have a confidence meditation to share, correct?
Yes, I have for speaking confidence. It's a 10-minute guided meditation for any of your listeners who have any kind of speaking opportunity coming up. And it's free to download on my website at lindaugelow.com/speaking confidence.
Awesome. We will definitely post that in the notes. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time to come and talk to us about how to feel better around the things that freak us out.
I like that. I'm going to steal that from you.
Perfect. Perfect. It was so nice to chat with you today. Thank you.
Bye-bye.